a huge mansion on the edge of the city, the life of the billionaire's son was nothing like other children. The mansion itself was magnificent, with tall marble pillars, shiny floors, and huge crystal chandeliers. Every room was filled with luxury. The boy had everything he could ever want: the latest toys, electronic gadgets, the finest clothes, and even a personal tutor. Yet despite all this, he often felt invisible. He could not walk, and this kept him from joining other children in games or even playing freely in the garden. His life was full of comfort but empty of simple joys. He spent his days mostly alone in his large bedroom, surrounded by expensive things that never seemed to make him happy. From his wheelchair, he would look outside the tall glass windows at the sprawling garden, wishing he could run through the grass, feel the wind on his face, or play a simple game of tag with a friend. His father was busy with work most of the time, often traveling or attending meetings. When he was home, the father focused on his business calls and rarely spent time with his son. He cared for him in the sense of providing, but he never truly connected with him emotionally. Inside the mansion worked a maid named Clara. She had been part of the household for many years, quietly observing everything around her. Clara was not rich, but she had a strength and warmth that money could not buy. She had seen life in its toughest forms, yet she carried a sense of kindness that drew people toward her. Clara noticed the boy's sadness, the way he would stare out of the window for hours without a word, and the quiet longing in his eyes. She had a way of understanding children that others often missed. She never forced attention on him, but she was always there when he needed someone. On a rainy morning, the boy sat by his window, looking at the droplets sliding down the glass. He sighed, feeling trapped in his own body. The sound of the rain tapping against the window was soothing, but it also reminded him of all the things he could not do. Clara walked past the room, carrying a tray with breakfast. She paused for a moment, noticing his expression. Without a word, she set the tray down and sat quietly beside him. The boy was used to adults either ignoring him or speaking to him in a condescending tone. Clara's presence was different. She simply sat there, waiting for him to speak first. After a while, Clara reached into the closet and pulled out an old board game, dusty but intact. She brought it to the boy and said softly, "Do you want to play?" The boy hesitated. He was not used to people inviting him to spend time, especially adults. Slowly, he nodded. Clara carefully set up the game on the floor near his wheelchair, adjusting the pieces so he could reach them easily. As they played, she told small stories about the characters in the game, giving each one a little personality. The boy laughed, a sound that had been missing from the mansion for a long time. He felt a warmth he had never experienced with his father or tutors. From that day on, Clara made it a point to spend a few moments with the boy every day. Sometimes, they played games. Other times, they simply sat and watched the rain or painted pictures with bright colors. She encouraged him to try small movements, helping him stretch and roll slightly in his wheelchair. She never pushed him beyond his comfort, but she always believed in his abilities. Slowly, the boy began to smile more often, feeling seen and understood in a way he had never been before. The father remained mostly unaware of these moments, focused as he was on running his empire. He assumed that the boy was content because he had every material thing he could want. He did not see the quiet bond forming between his son and Clara. Yet even from a distance, the boy's laughter started to catch his attention. It was different from the polite, quiet sounds that usually filled the mansion. It was genuine, full of life, and it made him pause more than once as he walked past the rooms. The mansion, despite its grandeur, could feel cold and lonely. Clara's presence began to change that, not by adding luxury, but by adding care and warmth. She taught the boy small joys, like noticing the colors in the garden, feeling the texture of rain on his hands, or the excitement of completing a simple task by himself. These were things that no tutor or gadget could provide. She showed him that his limitations did not define him, and that joy could be found even in small moments. As days turned into weeks, the boy began to look forward to Clara's visits. He would sometimes wake up early, hoping she would come and spend time with him before anyone else arrived. He felt a sense of trust and safety with her, a feeling he had never experienced with his father or other staff. Clara, in turn, found joy in seeing his small progress, his growing confidence, and his laughter. She became a quiet anchor in his life, someone he could rely on without fear of judgment or neglect. The father, still unaware of the emotional changes happening in his son, continued his busy life. But he could not help but notice that the boy's demeanor had started to shift. There was a light in his eyes, a curiosity in his expressions that had been missing. He brushed it off as a phase, not realizing that it was Clara's presence and patience that were making the difference. The boy, meanwhile, was slowly discovering that happiness did not come from wealth or gadgets alone. It came from connection, understanding, and the simple act of being noticed and valued. Even the mansion seemed to breathe differently when Clara was around. The rooms that once felt cold and empty began to feel alive with laughter and small moments of joy. The boy was no longer confined to the silent corners of the house. He began to express himself more, sharing his thoughts and feelings, asking questions, and even trying new movements with Clara's gentle guidance. The world outside his wheelchair started to feel less like a distant dream and more like something he could approach step by step. One afternoon, Clara helped him reach for a book on a high shelf. The boy struggled at first, but with her encouragement, he managed to pull it down. The smile on his face was priceless. It was not the achievement itself that mattered most, but the feeling of capability and support. Clara clapped softly, praising him, and the boy felt a surge of pride he had never known. These small victories became the highlights of his days, each one building his confidence bit by bit. The mansion, despite all its opulence, had never felt like a true home to the boy. He had felt like a visitor in a house that was more a display of wealth than a place of love. But with Clara, he began to feel a sense of belonging. She treated him as a person first, not as a child with limitations or a reflection of the family's status. This simple acceptance and genuine care began to transform the boy's view of himself and the world around him. As the days passed, the boy's relationship with Clara grew deeper. He started to share his dreams and fears with her, things he had never told anyone. He spoke about wanting to run, to play, to be like other children. He spoke about feeling left out and invisible. Clara listened patiently, never interrupting or dismissing his feelings. She reassured him that it was okay to feel this way, and that his dreams were still important, no matter the challenges he faced. This validation, something he had rarely received, made a profound impact on him. The father, busy as he was, began to notice subtle changes. He saw his son laughing more, asking questions, and engaging in activities he had previously avoided. He could not pinpoint why, but something was different. Little did he know that the presence of Clara, the quiet maid who had been part of their lives for so long, was slowly breaking down the walls of isolation and loneliness that had surrounded his son. She was teaching him that life could still be full of joy, connection, and hope, even in the face of challenges that seemed insurmountable. By the end of the first part of this story, the boy was no longer just a lonely child in a big mansion. He had found a friend, a guide, and a source of unconditional care in Clara. He was beginning to see that his limitations did not define him, and that love and attention could open doors to happiness that wealth alone could never provide. The foundation of a transformative bond had been laid, one that would slowly change not only his life but the lives of everyone around him, starting with the quiet maid who had the power to see and nurture his true potential. The days passed slowly in the mansion, but for the boy, each one began to hold new meaning because of Clara. She had become his companion, someone who understood his silent wishes and his longing for freedom. Every morning, as sunlight spilled into his room, he would watch for her footsteps, knowing that she would bring small moments of joy that no gold or luxury could ever provide. One cloudy morning, Clara brought a small basket filled with items she had gathered for him. There were colorful stones, tiny wooden toys, and pieces of fabric she had sewn together to make a patchwork game. The boy's eyes widened with excitement, and for a moment, the mansion felt less like a cold palace and more like a place of warmth and laughter. He reached out eagerly to touch everything, his hands tracing the textures and colors, feeling alive in a way he rarely had before. Clara sat beside him and said gently, I thought we could make something together today. Something you can see and touch. Something that is yours." The boy's face lit up, and for the first time, he felt a sense of ownership over an activity. They began arranging the stones and fabrics into small patterns, creating a miniature world on the floor of his room. Clara guided him patiently, never rushing, always encouraging him to try new ideas and trust his instincts. As they worked together, the boy laughed and talked more than he had in months, sharing stories of what he imagined each piece to be. Over the next few weeks, Clara and the boy developed a routine that brought structure and joy into his life. In the mornings, they would explore creative projects, while in the afternoons, they practiced small exercises to strengthen his muscles. Clara had learned from years of observation and experience how to guide him safely, helping him roll, stretch, and reach with care. The boy's body was slowly gaining strength, and more importantly, his confidence was growing. He began to believe that he could do more than he had ever thought possible. The father still remained mostly absent, consumed by his business and unaware of the quiet transformation taking place. He occasionally noticed his son smiling or laughing, and it puzzled him. For years, he had assumed that wealth alone could provide happiness, and he had never realized the importance of presence and emotional support. Yet slowly, the subtle changes in his son began to catch his attention. The laughter and excitement, even if he did not fully understand it, hinted at something more profound than material comfort. One afternoon, Clara decided to take the boy on a small adventure within the mansion grounds. Using his wheelchair, they moved slowly through the marble halls and into the garden. The air was fresh and the scent of flowers filled the space. The boy's eyes sparkled as he took in the sights, sounds, and smells around him. Clara encouraged him to reach out and touch the petals, feel the grass beneath the wheels of his chair, and notice the tiny insects buzzing nearby. It was a world he had only seen from a distance, and now he was part of it. They stopped near a small fountain where the boy watched the water cascade down in rhythmic patterns. Clara handed him a small paper boat she had made and guided him to set it on the water. The boy's face broke into a wide smile as he watched the boat float and spin. For the first time, he felt a sense of accomplishment and joy, knowing that he could interact with the world in ways he had never imagined. Clara's encouragement and patience had opened a door to experiences that money or tutors could never provide. As the weeks turned into months, the boy's confidence grew steadily. He began experimenting with his movements, learning to shift his weight, and even attempting short stretches with Clara's guidance. Each small success filled him with pride and a sense of independence. Clara celebrated each achievement with him, never making him feel pressured but always making him feel capable. The mansion, which had once felt like a prison, was slowly transforming into a place of possibility and discovery. The boy began to open up about his feelings and dreams in ways he never had before. He spoke about wanting to play outside, to feel the wind on his face, and to be like other children. Clara listened attentively, never dismissing his desires, and helped him find creative ways to experience them safely. She taught him that limitations did not define who he was, and that he could find joy and meaning in the moments he could access. Her gentle guidance and unwavering belief in him became a source of strength and hope. The father began to notice more significant changes in his son's behavior. He saw him laughing genuinely, engaging with curiosity, and showing determination in small tasks. Though he did not fully understand the source of this transformation, he could sense that something had shifted. The boy was no longer the quiet, withdrawn child he had known. He had found a spark, a sense of life and possibility that money alone could never create. The father, though still distant, began to reflect on the ways he had failed to connect emotionally with his son, and realized that there was a world of learning and understanding he had yet to explore. Clara, ever perceptive, encouraged the boy to keep pushing his boundaries gently. She introduced new challenges, like navigating small ramps in the garden, reaching higher shelves with adaptive tools, and experimenting with art projects that required careful movements. Each challenge was met with encouragement and praise, and each success boosted the boy's self-esteem. He began to see himself as capable and strong, not defined by what he could not do but by the efforts he made and the support he received. The mansion, once a symbol of isolation and distance, began to feel warmer and more alive. The laughter and joy that Clara brought into the boy's life slowly spread through the household. Even the staff noticed the change, seeing the boy engage with curiosity and happiness. The father, while still preoccupied with his business, could not ignore the transformation taking place. He began to observe, silently at first, the bond between his son and Clara, realizing that her influence was profound and positive. One rainy afternoon, Clara brought a large piece of fabric and set it on the floor, creating a small play area filled with textures, colors, and objects to explore. The boy's eyes lit up with excitement, and he eagerly engaged with the materials. Clara guided him through simple exercises, encouraging him to stretch, roll, and reach for objects. Each movement, each small success, was celebrated with smiles and laughter. The boy felt a sense of accomplishment he had never known, and Clara quietly reveled in his joy, knowing that she was helping him discover his potential. The father, passing by the room, paused to watch silently. He saw his son laughing, moving with determination, and expressing joy in ways he had never witnessed before. For the first time, he understood that wealth and luxury could not replace presence, care, and encouragement. The realization hit him hard, and he felt a pang of guilt for the years he had spent focusing on business while neglecting the emotional needs of his child. Yet, he also felt hope, seeing the bond between Clara and his son, and realizing that positive change was possible. Clara continued to nurture the boy's confidence and independence. She introduced him to new activities like painting with watercolors, creating simple sculptures, and exploring music through rhythm and sound. The boy responded with curiosity and enthusiasm, discovering talents and interests he had never known. Clara's guidance was always gentle, patient, and encouraging, creating an environment where he could experiment, learn, and grow without fear of failure. As the months passed, the boy's relationship with Clara deepened. He began to trust her implicitly, sharing his thoughts, fears, and dreams. He spoke about wanting to experience more of the world, to interact with other children, and to discover new joys. Clara listened with patience and empathy, helping him navigate challenges and find creative solutions. The mansion, which had once felt like a place of isolation, was now a space of learning, laughter, and emotional growth. The father, slowly awakening to the importance of emotional connection, began to spend small moments with his son. At first, it was awkward and hesitant, but he observed Clara's interactions and learned from her example. He saw the importance of patience, encouragement, and genuine care. The boy, in turn, began to accept his father's presence, feeling that he was finally being seen not just as a child with limitations, but as a person with thoughts, feelings, and dreams. By the end of this period, the boy had grown more confident, independent, and joyful. Clara's influence had created a foundation for emotional resilience, self-belief, and discovery. The mansion, once a place of luxury without warmth, had transformed into a space where the boy could explore, learn, and experience life in meaningful ways. The bond between him and Clara had become a source of strength, guiding him toward a future filled with possibility, hope, and love. The father, now more aware of the value of presence and connection, began to reconsider his priorities. He realized that the true wealth in life was not in material possessions, but in the relationships we build and the care we give and receive. The boy's laughter and growth became a reminder that emotional support, empathy, and genuine attention were the most precious gifts one could offer. Clara, ever humble, continued her quiet role, knowing that her dedication and kindness were shaping the boy's life in profound and lasting ways. The mansion had always been a quiet place, filled with shiny floors and golden furniture, but now it felt a little warmer. The boy's laughter echoed through the halls more often, and Clara's presence seemed to bring life to every corner. She had become more than a maid. She was a friend, a guide, and a source of encouragement that the boy had never known before. He looked forward to her visits and the activities they shared, feeling a spark of joy and confidence that he had never felt in all his years. One afternoon, Clara suggested a new challenge. She brought a small wooden balance board and set it carefully on the floor, showing the boy how to place his hands and shift his weight. At first, he hesitated, unsure if he could do it. His father had always worried about his safety, often discouraging him from trying anything beyond his comfort zone. Clara, however, encouraged him gently. "You can do this. I will be right here," she said, her voice calm and reassuring. The boy took a deep breath and slowly placed his hands on the board. With Clara's steady guidance, he shifted slightly, feeling a thrill of accomplishment. He smiled widely, realizing that he could attempt more than he had ever believed possible. The father happened to walk by during one of these sessions. He paused in the doorway, watching silently. He was taken aback by the sight of his son moving with confidence and determination, supported by Clara's careful instruction. For the first time, he saw his son not as fragile or limited, but as capable and resilient. A sense of guilt washed over him as he realized how little he had truly engaged with his child's life, and how much he had relied on material wealth to fill the emotional gaps. Clara's quiet influence had opened his eyes to what was possible when love, patience, and care were given freely. Over the following weeks, Clara introduced the boy to new exercises, small movements, and adaptive activities that challenged his strength and coordination. Each accomplishment, no matter how minor, was celebrated with praise and smiles. The boy's confidence soared, and he began to believe that he could navigate the world in ways he had never imagined. Clara's patient guidance and unwavering belief in him created a safe space where he could experiment, learn, and grow. The father, observing from a distance, began to reflect on his own behavior. He realized that he had been absent in ways that mattered most, providing comfort through material wealth but neglecting emotional connection. He noticed how his son's demeanor had changed, how his laughter had returned, and how he now approached tasks with curiosity and determination. The father began to feel a mix of pride, guilt, and a newfound desire to connect with his son on a deeper level. One morning, Clara decided to take the boy to the mansion's library, a grand room filled with towering shelves and countless books. She helped him navigate the aisles, pointing out colorful illustrations and fascinating stories. The boy's eyes sparkled as he reached for the books, flipping through pages and absorbing the tales. Clara encouraged him to express his thoughts and ideas, asking questions that made him think and imagine. He discovered worlds beyond the mansion's walls, feeling a sense of wonder and excitement he had never experienced before. The father, passing by the library, noticed his son engrossed in a story. He saw the joy and curiosity on the boy's face and felt a pang of realization. This was what he had been missing, a true connection, an opportunity to nurture his child's mind and spirit, not just provide for his material needs. He quietly observed, learning from Clara's gentle guidance and the way she engaged with the boy. Her approach was full of patience, empathy, and encouragement, qualities he had overlooked in his pursuit of success. As the weeks continued, the boy's physical and emotional growth became more noticeable. He learned to use adaptive tools to navigate spaces, strengthened his muscles through careful exercises, and gained confidence in his abilities. Clara celebrated every achievement, never rushing or pressuring him, always emphasizing that progress was about effort and perseverance, not perfection. The boy began to see himself as capable and resilient, embracing challenges with curiosity rather than fear. One evening, the boy and Clara sat by the large window in his room, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Clara handed him a small notebook and encouraged him to draw or write about his day. The boy eagerly accepted, filling the pages with sketches of the garden, the rain, and the small adventures they had shared. He began to express his feelings and thoughts in ways he had never done before, discovering a new form of self-expression. Clara listened and encouraged him, validating his experiences and helping him understand the importance of acknowledging emotions. The father, observing from a distance, felt a mixture of awe and remorse. He had always believed that providing for his son's physical needs and future security was enough, but he now realized that emotional connection and guidance were equally, if not more, important. He saw Clara's role in his son's growth and began to understand that love, patience, and attention could unlock potential that wealth alone could not. The father quietly vowed to change, to become more present and engaged and to learn from Clara's example. As the boy's confidence grew, he began to experiment with new movements and activities. Clara encouraged him to try reaching higher, rolling slightly and navigating small ramps within the mansion. Each success brought laughter and pride, reinforcing his belief in his own abilities. Clara's guidance was always gentle, supportive, and non-judgmental, creating an environment where the boy felt safe to explore and learn. The mansion, once a place of isolation and rigidity, was transforming into a space of discovery, creativity, and emotional growth. One day, Clara suggested they create a small garden area indoors using pots, soil, and plants. The boy was thrilled at the idea and eagerly helped prepare the soil, plant seeds, and water them carefully. Over the following weeks, he watched as the plants grew, learning about patience, care, and responsibility. The project became a shared endeavor, a tangible representation of growth and nurturing. Clara praised his efforts, reinforcing the connection between care, attention, and positive results. The boy began to see that his actions could have meaningful outcomes, instilling a sense of empowerment and purpose. The father, increasingly aware of the changes in his son, began to engage in small ways. He asked questions about the indoor garden, offered to help water the plants, and occasionally joined in the activities. Though initially awkward and uncertain, he started to learn the importance of presence and emotional support. The boy, encouraged by Clara's guidance and the father's emerging involvement, began to experience a sense of family connection that had been missing for so long. Clara continued to introduce new activities that blended physical movement, creativity, and problem-solving. They built small wooden puzzles, created simple musical instruments, and explored tactile art projects. Each activity was designed to challenge the boy gently, fostering growth while celebrating achievements. The boy embraced these challenges with enthusiasm, feeling capable and confident in ways he had never imagined. Clara's unwavering support and belief in him reinforced the importance of patience, encouragement, and emotional connection. The father watched as his son's laughter and joy became more frequent, realizing that Clara's influence had been transformative. He saw his child's confidence, curiosity, and resilience blossom, understanding that these qualities could not be taught through wealth alone. Clara's quiet mentorship had opened doors to emotional growth, self-discovery, and empowerment, showing the father a path he had previously overlooked. One afternoon, as they sat by the fountain in the garden, the boy attempted to push his wheelchair slightly faster along the paths, guided by Clara's careful instruction. The father observed silently, feeling a deep sense of pride and humility. He realized that the boy's abilities were developing not because of money or tutors, but because of care, encouragement, and belief. Clara's presence had created an environment where the boy could thrive, and the father recognized the need to become more actively involved in nurturing his child's potential. As the days continued, the boy's relationship with Clara deepened further. He shared his dreams, fears, and thoughts freely, knowing that she would listen without judgment and guide him with patience. The mansion, once a symbol of isolation, had become a space of learning, laughter, and emotional growth. The father, inspired by Clara's example, began to engage more meaningfully with his son, learning the value of presence, empathy, and genuine care. By the end of this period, the boy had grown significantly, both physically and emotionally. Clara's influence had instilled confidence, resilience, and a sense of possibility. The mansion, once a place of luxury without warmth, had transformed into a space where the boy could explore, learn, and experience life fully. The father, humbled by the process, understood that true wealth lay not in material possessions, but in love, attention, and emotional connection. Clara, ever humble, continued her quiet mentorship, knowing that her guidance had already made a lasting impact on the boy's life and the family as a whole. The mansion, once silent and imposing, now echoed with laughter and activity. The boy had grown more confident in his movements and in his ability to interact with the world around him. Clara's presence remained constant, always guiding, supporting, and encouraging him in ways that no tutor, gadget, or material possession ever could. She had become a steady anchor in his life, someone he could trust implicitly and learn from every day. One morning, Clara suggested a new project. She had brought a set of wooden blocks, paints, and small tools, Today, she said gently, we are going to build something together, something that is yours, and we will create it step by step. The boy's eyes lit up with excitement. He loved the idea of making something tangible, something that reflected his imagination and effort. Clara guided him patiently, showing how to balance, paint, and assemble each piece. The boy's laughter filled the room as he discovered the satisfaction of creating, and each small success reinforced his belief in himself. The father watched from a distance. He could not help but feel a mixture of awe and guilt. He realized how little he had truly participated in his son's life. Money and luxury had never replaced presence, and he now saw the profound impact Clara's care and attention were having. Her patience, empathy, and encouragement were teaching the boy resilience, confidence, and independence in ways he had never imagined possible. The father quietly reflected on his own behavior, understanding that he had much to learn about being present and nurturing. As the days went by, Clara introduced more challenges designed to stretch the boy's abilities gently. She encouraged him to navigate ramps in the garden, reach higher shelves, and practice exercises that strengthened his arms and torso. Each activity was accompanied by praise and gentle guidance, creating a safe environment for exploration and growth. The boy's confidence soared as he realized that he could do more than he had ever believed possible. Clara's steady support was helping him discover that his limitations did not define him. The boy's daily routine became filled with small adventures and accomplishments. Mornings were for creative projects, afternoons for physical exercises and garden exploration, and evenings for quiet reflection and storytelling. Clara encouraged him to express his thoughts and feelings, whether through drawing, writing, or speaking. Each activity nurtured his mind, body, and spirit, fostering a sense of independence, curiosity, and joy. One afternoon, Clara and the boy worked together on a painting project in the sunroom. They spread large sheets of paper across the floor, dipped brushes into bright colors, and began to create. The boy experimented with mixing colors, making patterns, and expressing emotions through shapes and lines. Clara praised his creativity, encouraging him to trust his instincts and explore freely. The boy felt a sense of pride and accomplishment, realizing that his efforts had value and meaning. For the first time, he truly believed in his abilities. The father, observing quietly from a nearby doorway, felt a mixture of admiration and humility. He saw his son's confidence, creativity, and joy blossoming under Clara's guidance. He realized that these qualities could never have been taught through wealth alone. The father decided to join them in the sunroom, hesitant at first but eager to connect with his child. Clara welcomed his presence, guiding him gently in ways that allowed him to participate meaningfully without overshadowing the boy's progress. The father began to understand the importance of presence, attention, and encouragement in nurturing his son's growth. As the weeks turned into months, the boy's physical abilities continued to improve. He learned to maneuver his wheelchair with more skill, navigate small obstacles, and perform exercises that strengthened his muscles. Each small success brought laughter and pride, reinforcing his belief in his own capabilities. Clara celebrated every achievement, never rushing, always encouraging him to embrace challenges and learn from experiences. The boy's sense of independence grew alongside his confidence, creating a foundation for lifelong resilience. Clara also encouraged the boy to explore music and rhythm. They created simple instruments using household items and experimented with sounds and melodies. The boy discovered a love for rhythm, tapping patterns on drums and creating songs with Clara's guidance. Music became a source of expression and joy, allowing him to communicate emotions he had previously struggled to articulate. Clara celebrated his creativity, reinforcing the connection between effort, expression, and accomplishment. The father began to notice a remarkable transformation. He saw his son laughing more freely, expressing himself creatively and approaching challenges with curiosity rather than fear. The boy's progress was evident not only in his physical abilities, but also in his emotional resilience and confidence. The father recognized that Clara's influence had been instrumental in these changes. Her patience, empathy, and dedication had opened doors to experiences and growth that he could never have provided alone. One day, Clara suggested a new outdoor activity. She had set up a small obstacle course in the garden using cones, ropes, and ramps. The boy was excited but nervous. Clara reassured him, guiding him through each step and offering support when needed. The boy navigated the course with determination, laughing and cheering himself on. Each success brought a sense of accomplishment and pride, reinforcing the lessons Clara had been teaching about perseverance, effort, and resilience. The father watched silently, moved by the sight of his son's courage and determination. As the boy's confidence grew, he began to share his thoughts and dreams more openly. He spoke about wanting to explore the world beyond the mansion, to meet other children and to experience new adventures. Clara listened attentively, encouraging him to dream and providing guidance on how to approach challenges safely. The mansion, once a place of isolation and rigidity, had become a space of growth, creativity, and exploration. The father gradually became more involved, participating in activities with his son and learning from Clara's example. He discovered the joy of shared experiences, the satisfaction of supporting his child's growth, and the importance of presence and attention. The boy, encouraged by Clara's guidance and his father's emerging involvement, began to experience a sense of family connection that had been missing for so long. The mansion, once silent and imposing, now resonated with laughter, learning, and love. Clara continued to introduce new projects and challenges, blending physical activity, creativity, and problem-solving. They built small wooden structures, experimented with tactile art, and explored music and rhythm. Each activity fostered growth, independence, and confidence, while reinforcing the importance of patience, encouragement, and emotional connection. The boy embraced these opportunities, discovering new strengths and abilities with every effort. The father, increasingly aware of the transformation in his son, felt gratitude and humility. He realized that wealth and material possessions could never replace genuine care, attention, and emotional support. Clara's influence had shown him the profound impact of presence, patience, and empathy. He began to participate more actively, learning how to nurture his child's potential and build a meaningful connection. The boy, supported by Clara's guidance and his father's involvement, continued to flourish, developing confidence, resilience, and joy. By the end of this period, the boy had grown significantly in both physical and emotional strength. Clara's guidance had created a foundation for confidence, independence, and emotional growth. The mansion, once a place of luxury without warmth, had become a space of creativity, exploration, and connection. The father, humbled by the process, recognized the value of presence, attention, and emotional support. Clara, ever humble, continued her quiet mentorship, knowing that her dedication and care had already transformed the boy's life and the family dynamic in ways that would last a lifetime. The mansion, once silent and imposing, now felt alive with laughter, movement, and warmth. The boy had grown significantly over the months, both in confidence and independence. He could navigate small ramps in the garden, maneuver his wheelchair skillfully, and participate in creative projects with ease. Clara's guidance had been the key to his progress, offering patience, encouragement, and care that no wealth or luxury could provide. One bright morning, Clara suggested a special outing within the mansion grounds. She had prepared a small picnic near the fountain, complete with fruits, sandwiches, and a blanket spread on the grass. The boy's eyes sparkled with excitement as he approached the area, feeling the sunlight and fresh air on his face. Clara helped him settle comfortably, and they shared the meal together. She encouraged him to explore the surroundings, touch the flowers, and listen to the birds. Each moment was a lesson in observation, patience, and joy, allowing the boy to connect deeply with the world around him. The father, who had begun participating more actively in his son's life, joined them during the picnic. At first, his presence was cautious, but Clara's gentle guidance made him feel welcome and involved. He watched as his son laughed, explored, and shared stories about the small adventures they had experienced together. The father felt a profound sense of gratitude and humility, realizing how much he had missed in his son's life by focusing solely on material wealth. Clara's quiet mentorship had opened his eyes to the importance of presence, empathy, and emotional connection. After the picnic, Clara guided the boy through a small obstacle course she had set up nearby. The boy maneuvered his wheelchair with skill and determination, feeling proud of each movement he achieved. Clara celebrated every success, reinforcing the importance of effort, perseverance, and self-belief. The father observed quietly, learning from her approach and beginning to understand the profound impact that care and encouragement could have on a child's development. He realized that his son's progress was not just physical but emotional, nurturing resilience, confidence, and a sense of possibility. Over the following weeks, Clara introduced new creative and physical challenges. They built small wooden structures, painted large murals, experimented with musical instruments, and navigated adaptive exercises in the garden. Each activity was designed to foster growth, independence, and self-expression. The boy embraced these opportunities with enthusiasm, discovering new strengths and abilities. Clara's unwavering support and belief in him reinforced the lessons of patience, resilience, and the joy of learning through experience. The boy's relationship with his father continued to evolve. The father began spending more time with him, engaging in activities, asking questions, and offering support. Though initially awkward, these moments gradually became meaningful connections. The boy started to feel that his father was genuinely present, interested, and invested in his life. Clara's guidance had not only transformed the boy, but had also inspired the father to become more empathetic, patient, and nurturing. The mansion, once a place of isolation and distance, had transformed into a space of love, growth, and family connection. One afternoon, Clara suggested a storytelling session. She encouraged the boy to create his own story, combining imagination, experiences, and emotions. The boy eagerly accepted, weaving a tale of adventure, courage, and discovery. Clara listened attentively, guiding him when needed and praising his creativity and expression. The father joined in, contributing ideas and listening with genuine interest. The activity became a shared experience, strengthening bonds and reinforcing the importance of communication, imagination, and emotional expression. The boy felt proud and valued, knowing that his thoughts and creativity mattered. As the months progressed, the boy's confidence and independence grew steadily. He learned to navigate new spaces, perform exercises that strengthened his body, and engage in creative projects with enthusiasm. Each success, whether physical, emotional, or creative, reinforced his sense of self-worth and capability. Clara celebrated every achievement, ensuring that the boy understood the value of effort, perseverance, and patience. The father, now fully engaged, participated actively, learning the importance of presence, encouragement, and genuine care in nurturing his child's growth. One evening, the family gathered near the fountain in the garden, the sun setting and casting a warm glow over the surroundings. The boy maneuvered his wheelchair confidently, laughing and sharing stories of his day. Clara watched from a short distance, smiling quietly, proud of the progress he had made. The father, standing nearby, felt a deep sense of connection and love for his son. He realized that the true wealth in life was not in possessions or status, but in the bonds of care, empathy, and shared experiences. Clara's guidance had transformed their lives, creating a foundation of confidence, resilience, and emotional connection. The boy began to express his dreams more openly. He spoke about exploring beyond the mansion, meeting new friends, and experiencing the world with curiosity and courage. Clara encouraged him to dream big, providing guidance and reassurance while emphasizing that effort and perseverance were essential. The father listened attentively, supporting his son's aspirations and learning to celebrate progress, growth, and determination. The mansion had become a place of possibility, imagination, and learning, where the boy could develop both physically and emotionally. Clara continued to introduce new challenges and projects, blending physical activity, creativity, and problem-solving. They painted murals, built simple machines, and explored music and rhythm. Each activity nurtured the boy's growth, independence, and self-expression. The father, inspired by Clara's example, participated actively, learning how to engage meaningfully with his child and foster a nurturing environment. The boy's confidence, resilience, and sense of possibility grew steadily, reinforcing the lessons of perseverance, patience, and emotional connection. As the boy's abilities and confidence expanded, he began to take pride in his accomplishments. He learned to navigate the mansion independently, explore creative projects, and engage in activities that challenged him physically and mentally. Clara's encouragement and guidance reinforced the importance of effort, patience, and self-belief. The father, fully aware of the transformation, felt gratitude and humility, recognizing that love, presence, and support were the most valuable gifts he could provide. One day, Clara brought a small camera and suggested documenting the boy's projects and adventures. The boy was thrilled, capturing images of the garden, creative projects, and moments of joy. The activity allowed him to reflect on his progress, celebrate achievements, and share experiences with his father. Clara guided him gently, emphasizing observation, patience, and attention to detail. The father joined in, learning to appreciate the importance of reflection, encouragement, and shared experiences in nurturing growth and confidence. The boy's laughter and joy became a constant presence in the mansion. He navigated new challenges with determination, engaged in creative projects with enthusiasm, and expressed his thoughts and emotions openly. Clara's mentorship had created a foundation of confidence, independence, and emotional growth, while the father's involvement reinforced the importance of love, attention, and presence. The mansion, once a place of isolation and luxury without warmth, had become a space of learning, connection, and joy. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the boy sat near the fountain with Clara and his father. He looked around at the garden, the mansion, and the people who had helped him grow. Feeling a sense of gratitude and happiness, Clara smiled, knowing that her quiet guidance had made a lasting impact. The father, humbled and inspired, felt a deep connection with his child, recognizing the transformative power of love, patience, and presence. The boy whispered softly, "Thank you for seeing me," and in that moment, the boundaries of class, wealth, and expectation faded away, leaving only human connection, care, and the joy of shared experiences. The story ended not with a grand event or achievement, but with a quiet, profound transformation. The boy had discovered his abilities, confidence, and resilience. Clara had shown the power of empathy, patience, and encouragement. The father had learned the importance of presence, love, and support. Together, they had transformed the mansion from a place of isolation into a home filled with warmth, laughter, and possibility. The lessons learned, bonds formed, and growth achieved would continue to shape their lives, proving that true wealth lies not in possessions but in human connection, care, and the courage to believe in one another. Months had passed since Clara had first entered the boy's life, and the transformation in him had become evident to everyone around. He moved with more confidence, laughed more freely, and showed a curiosity for the world that had been buried under years of hesitation and fear. Clara's gentle guidance had not only taught him physical skills, but had instilled resilience, self-belief, and emotional strength. Even the father, who had once believed wealth alone was enough, had begun to understand the true value of presence and care. One morning, Clara suggested a new type of activity, something that would test both his body and mind. She had prepared a small scavenger hunt throughout the mansion and the garden. Each clue required him to solve a puzzle, find an object, or complete a small physical challenge. The boy's eyes lit up with excitement. He loved a challenge, especially one that involved thinking, moving, and discovering. Clara explained the rules carefully and reassured him that she would be there every step of the way. The father, curious and cautious, observed from a distance, unsure of how involved he should be but wanting to support his son's growth. The boy began the scavenger hunt, carefully navigating each challenge with a mixture of concentration and joy. Clara encouraged him along the way, reminding him to take his time, celebrate each small victory, and enjoy the process. The boy felt a sense of pride with every clue he solved and every small task he completed. For the first time, he realized that effort and determination could lead to achievements he never thought possible. Clara's presence was like a steady hand guiding him through unknown territory, building his confidence and showing him that he was capable of much more than he had imagined. The father, witnessing his son's determination and success, felt a mix of awe and guilt. He had spent so many years focusing on wealth, business, and status, believing that providing material comfort was enough. Now, he saw that emotional support, guidance, and encouragement were the true foundations of growth. He stepped closer and offered quiet praise when his son reached certain milestones, learning how to participate without overshadowing the boy's accomplishments. The boy, sensing his father's presence, felt encouraged and supported, deepening the bond between them.